Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about edge cases. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, would you ever push code that you knew had unhandled edge cases? I have a feature that was requested by a user for my project, and the solution I know has some edge cases. I don't think they're all that likely, but I'm not sure how to get it 100%. From a user perspective, it still provides value and won't cause any catastrophes, but feels so janky to me. In a word, yes. Yes, I would. I would ship code that has unhandled edge cases, even consciously, because I'm pretty sure I have more than once shipped code that doesn't foresee certain edge cases because it's really difficult to think about all the possible things that could go wrong with the code that you write or the system that you have built and so forth. And the reason why I say this is because the argument I make is that there is nothing that you could make that handles every edge case. It's about trade-offs here. Because if you think about it, I mean, if you were going to ship a toaster that had to handle the possibility that it was dropped from a skyscraper or thrown into a volcano, or there's a lightning strike somewhere and it should be handling those sorts of situations. You're putting a lot on that toaster, I argue. That's a lot of that's a lot of cases that you have to handle. So you have to think about, okay, what is reasonable? That's the trade-off thing I talk about. When I write software, for example, I am trying to think about the common cases, and then of course, as we all try, I think about exploits, security things, things of that nature, and I try to the best of my ability to foresee if I have missed something in the design of the system. So this is when the edge cases are coming in. Now, once you have identified the edge cases, I mean, usually if you write some tests or something like for it, you might write one or two unit tests to make sure that, like a simple one, let's take a really simple one, really large numbers, like super large number. Someone inputs like a gigantic number. Can your system handle that? Or is it a case of that you're by mistake, say, dividing by 0? Or let's say that someone inputs a really long string and it overflows the amount of space you have in either memory or in the database columns that you're putting things in. Or I hope that you sort of see my drift, right? These things I will think about. And then, as you were describing, there might be cases where I identify them, but I'm not sure how to solve them. And in those sorts of situations, what I try to do is that I try to go to the customer. Because something that you have to remember, I argue, in order to get really happy customers, is that your goal is not to write software, or as with my toaster, your goal is not to create a toaster that is basically indestructible. Your goal is to create a toaster, or in this case, software, that your customers are happy using. And I mean, if you were to tell me that my toaster would survive a dip into molten lava, basically in an active volcano, I would think that a little bit cool, but I'm probably not going to pay you what it would take in order to be sure that that's going to be fine. I would want a toaster that is priced in accordance to what I expect it to be, and I want it to make my toast. Your software should work the same way. If your customer is aware of, like usually I do the thing that I always do, I explain the things that I see, like risks or things that might go wrong or so forth, and I try to involve my customers or my stakeholders and so forth in these thoughts, and then I let them sort of get a feel for, all right, there are a few situations here where this may or may not work, and then they can help me make the decision of whether or not this is something we really need to look into. And then I communicate very clearly that I'm not 100% sure how to solve this problem. I can work on it, and then I try to give them time estimates. We all hate those, of course, but I try to give them a feel for, okay, if I look into this issue, it might take X amount of time to figure out, as an example. And usually what they will say is that yes, that sounds like you should do that. Or, no, actually, it's not that important to us. It's fine. We're never doing anything like that, or so forth and so forth. Because my goal is not to write software that could handle any possible situation, unless that is literally the sort of quality levels we need. Like, let's say that you were to create I don't know, a self-driving car or something like that. Well, then that's a lot harder than, say, creating a to-do application or something like that. It's very different levels of quality that you're going to have to put into the algorithms that you're creating, right? Because the use cases might require you to think about potentially every edge case. And even I would even go as far to say that even in such a situation, it's more or less impossible to think about every single edge case. So basically my argument is that involve your stakeholders, present to them what you see as risks with your edge cases, and this is where you need to be a little bit of a teacher, mentor type of person. Try to put it in terms where they sort of understand the risks you have. Try to be good with your soft skills and communicate what you're thinking, and then let your customer help you decide whether or not this is worth looking into, or if you can ship. Because if they know that, yeah, we can handle if that situation occurs, or it's probably never going to occur, we're fine with it, then you're good. Then the thing that you made stands in proportion to the needs of the customer. And remember, it is for them you are making the system, not for yourself, so that you can make sure that you are a perfect software developer. It's nothing like that. It's for them you're making it. So what I want you to take away from this is that, yes, I have and I will continue to ship software that does not handle every edge case. One part because it's practically impossible to think about every possible edge case if we really go into the philosophy of that entire concept. And the second thing is because I know that certain edge cases do not matter. And when I know that that is the case, or ideally, even if I know, I try to always cover my bases, because I believe very firmly that one of the best practices that you can do or can adopt as a software professional, or basically any professional, I would say, when you're building something for somebody else, is to or ask for a little bit of feedback when you are uncertain about something. You don't have to bother people every 5 seconds or so forth, but if you're building a house for someone or you're decorating for them or so forth, it's probably good to not wait to ask if this seems to be the right direction. It's probably good to check these things before you're completely done, and then it turns out that, hey, actually no, you made a lot of assumptions that weren't really true. And in this situation, I would say do exactly that. Go to your customers and explain to them roughly what sort of edge cases you're seeing, and then see if, like, talk to them a little bit and see, are these things that you might that we might need to solve, because right now it might delay the delivery or things like that. Let them make a informed decision based on your experiences and take it from there. So in many cases they're going to go, no, actually you don't have to overthink it, that's probably never going to happen. Or yeah, even if it does happen, we have some, I like to say, if you can, even if something breaks in the system, as long as it doesn't put you in a position where you can't continue running the system, then it's usually a benign type of error. And if that is the case, well, then most of these edge cases may matter very little. And the quickest way to figure out if you have to solve them is, don't sit in your head. Don't just sit by yourself and never talk to anybody. Explain the risk to your stakeholders who you are building the thing for, and have them help you to figure out if, in my toaster analogy, does this toaster need to be able to survive being dropped from a skyscraper? Are they going to use it that way? No. Okay, throw that edge case out. Next edge case, and continue until you feel like, yeah, okay, I understand. These things that I'm worried about, I don't have to worry about. Have a great day.